In India, where 50 student groups in New Delhi are set to march against a controversial citizenship law. But police say they won't allow the demonstrations to go ahead. Protesters say the legislation discriminates against Muslims. At least 25 people have been killed across India since it was passed in Parliament 2 weeks ago. Let's speak to Elizabeth Puranam in New Delhi for us. So more rallies today, Elizabeth, and the rally in New Delhi could be confrontational.
Absolutely, Folly. We are here in the centre of the capital, New Delhi, and there is already a very large police presence here, hundreds of police officers, and there's also riot police here in riot gear. They are expecting, as you mentioned, 50 student groups have organised a protest here today, and what they're planning to do is to march to the residence of the Home Minister, Amit Shah. He is seen as the architect of what critics say are this government's anti-Muslim policies, including the Citizenship Amendment Act, that new legislation. He has been critical of what he says Bengali refugees and migrants, he calls them infiltrators and termites who have to be expelled. So we are expecting a big protest today, but we're also expecting that to not be allowed, Folly, because the police have imposed a ban now on no more than 4 people are allowed to gather. So we'll see what will happen. We know that police are preparing to detain anyone who tries to go past a certain point.
What's been the government's response so far, Liz? Any sign that it might be backtracking?
Folly, they don't look like they're going to backtrack on this law. I mean, this is a government and a prime minister who has an image of never backing down. But what's interesting, Folly, is that this law is very closely linked. The government itself has linked it to something called the National Register of Citizens, an exercise which was carried out in the northeastern state of Assam and which the government had said they wanted to carry out all over the country, an exercise which requires Indians to prove their citizenship, and that is something that the Prime Minister has backtracked on in the past few days, saying that there is no plan to carry out this register. We know that they're under pressure. These are massive protests all over the country, and we now have 10 states, so more than half of the states in India, saying that they are not going to implement the Citizenship Amendment law, and they're also not going to carry out a national register of citizens.
Thank you very much for that, Elizabeth Puranam, live for us in New Delhi.